Greetings and welcome back to room 303 in our chats with Emily, as we are calling our readings through the poetry of Emily Dickinson contained in the Johnson edition. We now turn to poem 133, As Children Bid the Guest Good Night. We're going to get two flower poems in 133 and 134, and I love both of these poems, and I love the way in which in this poem Emily's love of flowers will transcend the normal love of flowers. She literally will speak of flowers as if somehow they are real. In two different letters, she commented on this, and I'll share this information with you. First of all, in letter 388, she wrote to her Norcross cousins, we've commented on them already a couple of times, quote, "The career of flowers differs from ours only in inaudibleness. I feel more reverence as I grow for these mute creatures whose suspense or transport may surpass my own," end quote. She also used similar language in letter 228 to her cousin Louise Norcross the following year during a winter storm, writing, quote, "Now gillyflowers are asleep, the hills take off their purple frocks and dress in long white nightgowns," end quote. I love this, how she takes nature so personally. It will remind us a whole lot of the way Thoreau, for example, spoke of trees in his Walden. We've given full lectures at learnstrong.net. Now, our assumptions are that you have been following our stuff at learnstrong.net, down that left-hand side, Chats with Emily, our playlist. I'm hopeful that you've already worked through our introductory set of comments. I'm hopeful that you've already read the previous 132 poems. We just finished with "I Bring an Unaccounted Wine," unaccustomed wine. Now, here, Emily will speak of her flowers as if they are real people. And it's a question that many of us have asked: was Emily closer to her flowers in her garden, in her father's garden, than she was to people? I want to pay attention to all the different specific sounds. You got P sounds and M sounds and C sounds in this wonderful little poem. Follow it. "As children bid the guest good night and then reluctant to turn, my flowers raise their pretty lips, then put their nightgowns on. As children caper when they wake, merry that it is morn, my flowers from 100 cribs will peep and prance again." Now, I think that often in her poetry, Emily is having a good time. Hey guys, do you remember back in our talks with Walt, our readings through all the poems of the deathbed edition of Whitman's Leaves of Grass, that I said, guys, I think he's just having a lot of fun. Emily was very similar, I think, in many of these poems. I think she's just having a good time, and I think she's playing the game here. By the way, this construction in the first line of "as," here it's children, 19 poems she'll play this game of "as." You'll remember back in poem 88, we saw it already, right? The idea that the children and child, I told you guys, 71 of her poems she concentrates or emphasizes child or children. "As children bid the guest good night," I think about that really important scene in the film Sound of Music when the children all bid good night by singing that famous song. I think of it in this regards here. "As children bid the guest good night and then reluctant turn." I mean, it's the personification here is powerful, right? In other words, the flowers have to go, night, night. My flowers, notice it's not my father's flowers, it's my flowers. My flowers raise their, and then notice the P sounds here. We got pretty, and then in the final line, we've got peep and prance. My flowers raise their pretty lips, then put their nightgowns on. It's time for the evening. "As children caper," and then notice the power of the C words here as well, with children and caper and cribs. "As children caper when they wake, merry that it is morn," and hear all the M sounds here with merry and morn and my, all right? "My flowers from 100 cribs will peep and prance again." This idea of the cyclical nature of nature obviously is being played here as well. But I just want to say that in 2A, I think the argument that she's making here is that nature should bring us great joy. Certainly brought her joy. Flowers brought her joy. And I want to argue that in the same way that her flowers brought her great joy, her flowers of poetry also, and we'll see this in the next poem of 134. I think 33, 34 are read naturally together. At 2b, obviously the sounds, the P, the N, the C sounds. I mentioned at 3a Thoreau already. Think about Emerson's nature as well. The way that sometimes he would write about nature. We've given full lectures, by the way, on Thoreau and Emerson and in all of their writings at learnstrong.net. But do you remember in his essay on nature, it almost seems at times that he becomes transcendent in his description of nature, and I think Emily's playing a similar game. Certainly Walt Whitman played the same game in Leaves of Grass. At 3b, just to own a poem like this, what was a time when you felt this close to nature, when you were so excited to talk about nature that you saw nature as human? And I'm hopeful that your study of this poem and the poem to follow will play that same game for you. Thank you.